Is the industry slow? Is it ever coming back? Like ever? Please tell me. Should you panic like Chicken Little, who thought the sky was falling? Take a breath, because Alex and I tackle this topic and more in the final segment of our conversation together. Everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Ding. Okay, running Get Taped with Brooke, which is an audition taping service, and we've had it for over 15 years. Every day we have actors coming in with that fear in their eyes as they ask the question, is it slow or is it just me? If you've dwelt on this idea or other things that cause fear in you, but you haven't sought out the answers, the data, well then please watch this segment where Alex and I discuss this very thing of whether or not it's slow and how to actually gauge that for you personally.
Where's our industry going, man?
Oh, that's a good
Does
question.
it even matter? Is there going to be any work for us to do? Is there anything left?
This is where I'm going to just let my posture get worse as we all lament our state. I will say that, and there's probably a theme that we could pull from my comments, because when we're in front of cameras like this and understanding that we may not have, I don't have the M next to my followers, and only on YouTube is there a K maybe next to the Get Tape channel. That's still that offering these thoughts. There are people who will tune in and sort of hang on those words. And so I'll say that, yes, I could so easily become, I use like the two examples, the extremes of the Pollyanna versus the Chicken Little. And I would much rather choose somewhere in the middle, but leaning towards Pollyanna, because there's so many people that will give you the Chicken Little, the sky is falling, this industry is dead, it's the worst it's ever been. People posting as they go on to studios in Los Angeles of like, I've never seen it this dead. Look, there's no one here. Yeah. Right. Like, and it's real. Like, it's not even like fake news and it's not AI. Like these are factual things. But Tony Robbins has like this thought exercise that in one of his books I read 20 years ago, forgive me for this little side trek. Is humanity inherently good or bad? You could make a list of reasons that humanity is good and evil, and you could keep adding. And if you came to 100 on the good and 99 on the bad, well, you could come up with 2 more on the bad to tip the scales that way and prove that humanity is bad. But then you could come up with 2 more on the good to tip the scales back. Point being that, is the industry dead? Is it going to survive? Should I leave? It's totally up to you. Yeah. You can look at all the facts and be careful about how much you read, because it will tend to skew you towards the negative and the Chicken Little. But in the end, stories are like oxygen to humans. They're not going anywhere. They're absolutely crucial, because if you are mad at what's happening in this country in any way, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you fall on, if there are things that anger you, it is the artists who will be telling the stories that will give context, that will give people who don't understand your perspective, will give them that perspective. Mm-hmm. Whether or not they come over to your side is not really the point, but stories aren't going anywhere. The industry will change and evolve, and we either change and adapt with it, or we die. And so for me, it's like I try to somewhere on that Pollyanna side, not full, horse blinders on, wool pulled over my eyes. Yeah. But since there are plenty of voices that are negative, I sit more in that sort of, and that's not even getting into the nitty gritty of what is actually happening in the industry. It's more so of like how I approach that information. What about you? Where do you kind of live?
I'm like you. I'm a little this side of center towards Pollyanna. There are enough negative voices. I believe data by itself is kind of worthless. Mm-hmm. Data plus context can yield meaningful information. And so I think the question really to ask is not, is it slow? It's slow. Yeah, absolutely. But the question is it slow for me? Because there's a number of things we have in our control: content creation, self-producing, additional training, learning a new skill, going somewhere. It could be a staycay, it could be a vacay, it could reconnect with family. That ultimately, being a more well-rounded human helps you as an actor. So there are things that you can do. But to stay on that topic, I created a little 2-part YouTube series called Is It Slow? Using information. because we are never going back to peak TV. And in the Southeast, we were especially spoiled. 2019 and 2021 for us were insane. You talked about it earlier in our chat about, I've got so many auditions, I don't know what to do. There were people literally auditioning 8 times a week, some days, 10 times a week, some weeks, right? And, oh, great position to be in. I wish I could be there. No, because you cannot give full bandwidth to all of that. You just can't.
Yeah.
There's not enough hours in the day. And so maybe you're slower than that. But if you contextualize that with, we know it's a 40% global slowdown for a variety of reasons, whether that's taxes, whether that's runaway production, stuff going to Ireland, stuff going to Budapest, whatever it is, fine. But if you take your numbers and you factor in the contraction of peak TV here in the Southeast, some things that organically ended, like the previous phase of Marvel, and then Ozark and The Resident, and multiple chapters of the Walking Dead franchise are done, and those haven't been backfilled with as many things. Well, look at your numbers, and I am a numbers person, so if you've been acting for a decent amount of years, you kind of take your 2019, 2021, 2022 numbers, aggregate those and get an annual average, and then multiply that by a 40% reduction. Where does that put you at a year to date? If you're within plus or minus a few, it's not actually that slow for you. It's on par. If you're at half of what you were before, okay, but now you've at least got some context in there.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did headshots? When was the last time you were in a class? What audition previously did you coach on? There are other reasons it might be slow for you that are not just because, oh, the sky is falling and the industry is dead.
Yeah.
Right? Everything in its place. Everything has context to it. So, I mean, personally, when I came up with this for myself, I was like, oh, I'm actually right where I should be, numbers wise. And also noticing, depending on where you are in your career life cycle, you might be exchanging volume for quality.
Sure.
Right? Because one audition could put you on a show for a whole season versus one audition being one day of work.
Yeah.
That's a different thing. Happy problems to have. I'd much rather have more of those auditions than more of these auditions. But again, who you are in your career life cycle is going to change that.
Yeah.
And so then I ran some of my students through that thing. And some of them were so like, oh my gosh, I'm actually like 30% busier than I thought. Well, what was your emotional state like an hour ago? I was getting ready to quit. Well, okay, don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit.
That's such a great intellectual way or a way of taking an intellectual approach or a data-driven approach to an emotional response and giving, like you said, more context to it, because it's very easy to just allow yourself to go down that negative pathway of thinking and assume that it's me or whatever. Sometimes it's cyclical, like right after COVID, for some reason, a lot of the roles for you and me were racist cops and racist fill in the blank and racist this and that.
Yeah.
And I know some of our doppelgangers in our category who were just like fed up with that, and that goes back to the earlier question of what you know. And it's like, if you want to turn down those, that's totally fine. But then don't complain about no auditions, because that is the only thing that is currently in the market for white males in their 40s,
Yeah.
And so there has to be, I think, more knowledge is better in those respects of being able to give context to it. And then something you touched on in terms of, is the sky falling? Well, like, Brooke and I have been really busying ourselves with our own stories that we're making. We're doing some sketch comedy coming soon to a YouTube channel near you. And that is one of the greatest antidotes. Like, and if you're a writer, it could just be simply writing. If you're a painter, it could just be painting. And that can be such an amazing antidote to waiting for someone else to give you permission to act. If that's where you are, and if that's what's bringing you down, and think about it through that lens, you're waiting for someone else to give you permission. How about you just give yourself permission?
Yeah.
And let that creative energy have a new way, a new channel, a new expression that you're in control of.
And you and Brooke are both really good examples of early adopters in the content creation, self-production space, right? Becky and Barry, God, what was the first year Becky and Barry? 2010, right? And even before that, you were writing things. You were writing other projects. And so for somebody who's sitting here now who might be newer and maybe thinking the sky is falling and they don't know what to do, my challenge to them, the softball that I throw them is, how can you be of service? How can you help? Go help a 48-hour film production. Be a PA. Just schlep water around, move equipment around, because then you'll get a sense of the temperature on set. You'll get an idea, and then maybe you can take that short story that you wrote and turn it into a script format. And then you can take that script and you can make a short film with the people that you did the 48-hour film with, right? Maybe it's you finished a run of an improv class and you loved it, but now you realize sketch is more your thing, so you start writing sketches. And then before you know it, you've got a 30-minute show that you could put together with your roommates. And it doesn't have to be world-class quality. And it probably is better if it's not. Don't be results-driven. Just be creation-driven, right? I mean, I know as perfectionists, you get to the other side of shooting something, go, wow, I wish we'd have done this. Or if we had more time for this. Or, oh gosh, that joke, I could have just punched that up just a little bit. But it doesn't really matter. It's about creating and birthing something for that first time and getting it out there, because that first one is the hardest one.
Yeah.
And then after that, things are a little bit easier. And it is an immediate, you used the word antidote, which I love. I like to use the word, it's insulation to the exterior noise.
Yeah.
Because I care a little less about this when I'm having fun with this and my friends, and we're all moving in the same direction on something cool. You know, whatever that X thing is for you, whether it's sketch comedy or whether it's a period piece Western or whether it's a mime murder mystery. Where's the weapon?
A mime is a terrible thing to waste. And it's like we just recently had a big day on set, and side note, like I pretty much had to give up a guaranteed booking for what we'd already committed to. But it's like, didn't matter. Like, it was so easy of a decision for me to make because we'd already committed. We'd paid to rent a studio space and all these things. Right. But it's like this moment right now, before we've edited, before we've put anything out there, like I've really tried to embrace, like, this is the best feeling because there's no result yet to worry about. And like, am I going to get viewers? Yeah. Is it, are we going to get validation for it? That'll come on July 1st. That'll come. Who knows when this will air, but, and so I may already be in the doldrum of the mopes, for not getting as many eyeballs. But like right now, talking about process over product, this is the reward, is this creative feeling where the engine is running and we're at that perfect RPM. It's just purring along the highway, so to speak. And that's where we kind of want to live, right? We want this to be a sustainable thing so that we can keep ourselves insulated from all of that noise. So
process over product, that's a really important thing to remember for actors at all stages.
Yep.
Even myself, like sometimes in an audition, me, even after this many years, your mind's eye is playing what the finished product is going to look like. And what did I just finished product, as opposed to going through the process and being open to that experience by creating this process, then sending it off.
Yeah.
Right? That can be a bit of a trap when we get product focused.
Yeah. I've been in the habit of trying to, even though I had a donut before we recorded, like doing some sort of treat after an audition. Especially if I'm trying to cram it into a busy day where I'm going to let the noise potentially get the best of me and I might get frustrated. I might, not do as well as I thought. But to recognize, right, to plant a flag in the ground of like, I did the thing. And even though the process hasn't finished in the sense that I don't know the outcome of this, right, that's in that respect, we get focused on the outcome of the booking or not. But it's like, no, let me reward myself. Let me put a button on this experience now, well before, right, when it's still just about the art. I did an artistic thing. I put a piece of myself out into the world. Let me honor that and sort of put a button on that.
I love that. I love that so much, mostly because I love donuts. But no, it made me think about, this is one of the challenges in the self-tape world for the people who tape at home. Because when we used to go to an audition space, or we only had taping studios like Get Taped that we could go to, one of two things can happen after you leave and get back in your car. You can mourn the preparation that you neglected. Hey, I got to do better next time. I kind of phoned that one in. All right, you mourn that on the drive home, and that's it. Or you celebrate on the way home and you go, "Moo, that felt good. I was buzzing. I put a pretty good rip on that one." When you walk from your guest bedroom or basement that is your taping room back to the kitchen to fill up your water bottle, there's no time. You've just gone on to the next thing. in your day, in our overly scheduled day, or maybe you checked your messages, or maybe your partner said something, right? I think we need to honor and celebrate a little bit more and honor and mourn a little bit more because it helps us respect the craft, respect the process, and not paying any mind to the product, the outcome. That will be what it is, right? But I think on the morning side, it's important too, because so many people hang on. They don't realize, and they hang on to it.
Yeah.
And so you give yourself that 20 or 30-minute drive back. It's important. So maybe the challenge for people who are listening who see themselves in what we've just been talking about is after a taping, give yourself a treat and sit in that for 20 minutes. Or maybe you take the dog and you walk around the neighborhood and you mope and you mourn. And when you come back in with the dog, that's it. It's done and dusted, and you're moving on.
Yeah.
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 Got deep there at the end.
We did get deep there at the end. Why don't you, Alex, plug where people can personally find you in case they found this through the Get Taped channel?
Yeah.
Where can we find Alex Collins on the webs, on the World Wide Webs?
On the interwebs, I can be found on Instagram at Alex B. Collins. And I also have a emerging and burgeoning YouTube channel, which I think right now is the Approach Community.
Nice.
I hope. But you can find me through Instagram for sure.
Yeah. Whew. Well, if you've been following all the segments of this conversation between Alex and myself, you know we've covered a ton. And if you've missed any, you can check out the show notes below for a playlist of all of the segments. I've been running this channel for over 5 years, and so I would love to continue to evolve the content to fit the needs of you, the viewer. So if you would rather see more of the conversational podcast type setup, please let me know. If you're enjoying more of the one-on-one style setup where I'm talking directly to the camera, you can also put that in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.